Welcome back into the Rowdy Studio. I'm Stephen Levine. This is Tom Vandervoort. Kansas is in the books. And while it didn't really change a lot in terms of the championship picture, I'm starting to worry a little bit for Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, he didn't show up the way I think we thought he would. It wasn't a factor the way I think we thought he would be. Certainly Keselowski looked okay. Jimmie looked great and recovered from a terrible mistake. Although I will say, this is one of those races where we used to see this a lot more. The guy on the inside always tends to get loose. The cars were edgy out there on this new pavement with this tire combination. We saw a lot of guys lose it, and you have to give Jimmie Johnson and that 48 team a lot of credit for losing no points to Brad Keselowski after spinning out and hitting the wall.
Right, and it seemed like they were going to take a big hit when that happened. Yep. Now, I know that Denny Hamlin still has 4 really strong tracks ahead of him, but he has to make up an average of 5 positions per race to catch Brad Keselowski. I wanted to see him close that distance a little bit more before heading into Martinsville. I'm a little worried.
I'm not too worried. I'm only worried because he didn't show me the speed I thought I would see. But if you're just looking at points gap, I'm not that worried because although, as you say, an average of 5 a race, that's not the way it's going to happen. The way it's going to happen is he's going to make up a big chunk somewhere. Where is he going to make up a big chunk on Brad Keselowski? Martinsville. It's obvious. I mean, that is the place where he can and should make up a big chunk. And I'd say Martinsville even more so than Phoenix because I think Denny Hamlin and Jimmie Johnson are so far above everyone else at Martinsville. You can go in there expecting a top 3 finish, assuming everything goes according to plan. That's not crazy talk.
It's not crazy. I just wanted to see him have to make up less points.
Sure, I mean, that's always better. But from a point standpoint, I'm not that worried. I'm a little bit more worried about the speed that I didn't see and wondering, well, gee, how's that going to play when we get to Texas and Miami?
He did crash his primary and had to go to a backup. But he says, well, we don't have backups at Joe Gibbs Racing. Well, evidently you do. Let's move on to issue number 2, which I guess has to be Matt Kenseth. He won this race, has 3 victories on the season, a really good year for him, even though he's out of the championship battle, yet it is his last year as a Roush Fenway driver.
Yeah, headed to Gibbs next year, and certainly if this is the last win of his career for Roush Fenway Racing, it was a nice one to get, and certainly he deserves a lot of praise for the way he's handled himself over the years. It's a very Class C guy and a very good driver, a past champion, so it's a good moment for Matt.
It was a good moment for Matt, and it's a good moment for Roush as well. Greg Biffle has been strong the past couple of weeks. Matt Kenseth wins at Kansas. It's important, I think, for that team to get the bad taste out of their mouth to end the season. So they're not ending the season on a down note, but they're ending the season with some hope towards 2013. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. won this past weekend as well. Right. I think he has, 6 victories this season, and he's going to be taking over that Matt Kenseth number 17 car. So I think Roush seems to be getting their stuff under him again.
If you feel pretty good about how the speed you showed at Kansas, and don't forget, Eric Almirola runs, they're a satellite team to Roush Fenway, and he looked awfully strong, except for some of the tire problems he had. So you got to feel good about Miami and Texas for those teams, and if they run well at those 2 places, they will feel good coming into next
year. Richard Petty tangentially did re-up their agreement with Ford. Now, issue number 3 has to be the little contretemps between Danica Patrick and Landon Cassill. Landon Cassill said, I don't know why she thinks we have a history. As far as I'm concerned, we don't. And Danica said, I was frustrated and I tried to move him out of the way. I just need to learn to do it better.
Yeah, she needs to learn to do a lot of things better. I say give her time, but she doesn't really have time when she's hopping in full-time to the Cup Series next year. I think most race fans would say, and I don't know about this. I don't know if we're going to see very strong performance from her next year. She appears to be in over her head right now. And that's not to say she'll never get there. But what have we seen to really justify a full-time Cup ride and expect performance next year? And, I would submit not a lot.
You know exactly what we've seen to garner a full-time Cup ride for Danica Patrick.
I know what you're saying, but I'm talking about on the racetrack.
Oh, okay.
And so I just, I don't want to be harsh on her because I think she's good for the sport and I hope she succeeds. But right now we haven't seen anything.
Here's the one thing, though, that I will say on her behalf. Earlier this season, there was a conversation that Danica had, I think, with Tony Eury Jr. about, hey, you need to step up, you need to stop letting people push you around, you need to assert yourself on that racetrack and claim your own piece of pavement. Now, that's what she was attempting to do.
When, how, why you do those things?
Understood.
That's all part of the deal.
Understood.
I agree with you, but you just have to figure out how to handle yourself out there. And she's still learning. And, you know, anyone, I think, with her background would still be learning.
Well, she'll have Tony Gibson atop her pit box next season. He's moving over from Ryan Newman's car, so I think he's a pretty good teacher.
Okay.
All right, that's time. I'm Steven. Thanks for watching.